If someone told you that some American automobiles of the 1950s were more elegant than many Rolls-Royces, Bentleys, or Mercedes-Benz models, you probably wouldn't believe them. And yet, some of the cars you're about to see were so exclusive, so sophisticated, and so impressive that they still turn heads wherever they appear today. Because during the 1950s, America was living through a true golden age. Manufacturers weren't competing to build the most affordable car. They were competing to build the most elegant, the most prestigious, and the most desirable. Let's begin. 1957 Cadillac Eldorado Brougham. If there is one automobile capable of showing just how far American luxury could go during the 1950s, it's this one. Because it wasn't built to compete with other luxury cars, it was built to surpass them. And from the moment it appeared, it was clear that Cadillac was playing in a completely different league. At first glance, it looked like it had arrived from the future. The clean lines, the elegant stainless steel roof, and the absence of the massive tail fins that would dominate the years ahead gave it a sophisticated and exclusive appearance. It didn't look like a conventional automobile. It looked like a concept car that had somehow made it onto public roads. And the interior lived up to that level of innovation. Premium leather, handcrafted finishes, and a sense of exclusivity that very few manufacturers could match. Cadillac even delivered the car with special accessories for its owners, something that was almost unheard of at the time. Under the hood sat a refined 365 cubic inch V8, producing around 325 horsepower, more than enough to move this luxurious automobile with absolute smoothness. But performance was never the point. Prestige was. And in that regard, the Eldorado Brougham was an absolute success. It was also one of the most expensive American automobiles of the entire decade. Its price was so high that it even exceeded that of some Rolls-Royce models available at the time. Today, the finest Cadillac Eldorado Broughams easily exceed $150,000, while the most exclusive examples command significantly higher prices. And, more than 60 years later, it remains one of the most advanced, elegant, and extraordinary luxury automobiles America has ever produced. 1956 Studebaker Golden Hawk. At first glance, this car looks like a stylish American coupe from the 1950s. But that first impression doesn't tell the whole story, because the Golden Hawk was one of the most surprising automobiles of the entire decade, and also one of the most elegant. While Cadillac, Lincoln, and Chrysler competed with enormous bodies and endless amounts of chrome, Studebaker chose a different path, more refined, more sporting, and far more daring. The result was an automobile that still looks unlike any other American car of its era. The proportions were perfect, the long hood, the flowing roofline, and the combination of elegance and performance created a silhouette that was impossible to mistake for anything else. It didn't look like a massive American land yacht. It looked like something far more exclusive, and perhaps that's why it has aged so gracefully. But this is where things become truly interesting, because the Golden Hawk wasn't remarkable only for its styling. It was also impressive for its performance. Under the hood sat a powerful 352 cubic inch V8, producing around 275 horsepower, an impressive figure for the mid-1950s. And enough to make it one of the fastest American automobiles of its era. Yet what truly makes it special on this list is its personality, because it combined luxury, performance, and elegance in a way very few manufacturers ever managed to achieve. The interior offered quality materials, comfortable seating, and an atmosphere far more exclusive than most people expected to find in a Studebaker. It was a car for buyers who wanted something different, something rarer, something that stood out without needing to be excessive. Today, the finest Studebaker Golden Hawks typically range between $60,000 and $150,000, depending on condition and originality. 1958 Imperial Crown. If Cadillac represented American luxury, Imperial wanted to prove it could do it even better. And during the 1950s, that rivalry produced some of the most impressive automobiles in the entire industry. One of them was the Imperial Crown, a car that seemed designed for one purpose: to impress. At first glance, it was impossible to mistake it for anything else on the road. The enormous dimensions, the elegant chrome detailing, and the distinctive freestanding taillights mounted above the rear fenders created a presence unlike anything else of its era. It looked big, it looked exclusive, and above all, it looked expensive. Exactly what its buyers wanted. But this is where things become truly interesting. Because Imperial wasn't simply a luxurious Chrysler, it was a standalone brand. A brand created specifically to compete with Cadillac and Lincoln at the very top of the American luxury market. And that was evident in every detail. The interior offered premium materials, spacious seating, sophisticated instrumentation, and levels of comfort that rivaled the finest luxury automobiles of the period. Everything was designed to project prestige. Everything was designed to make its owner feel important. Under the hood sat a massive 392 cubic inch V8, producing around 345 horsepower. An impressive figure for the late 1950s. Today, the finest Imperial Crown models typically range between $50,000 and $150,000, depending on version and condition. And now, I want to know something. Of the cars we've seen so far, which one would you choose? The futuristic Cadillac Eldorado Brougham, the elegant Studebaker Golden Hawk, or this imposing Imperial Crown? Let me know in the comments. 1955, Cadillac Fleetwood 60 Special. Long before the massive tail fins that people now associate with Cadillac appeared, the company already knew exactly how to build an elegant automobile. And the Fleetwood is a perfect example, because this car didn't need exaggeration to project prestige. Its presence spoke for itself. At first glance, it looked like the very definition of mid-1950s American luxury. The proportions were impeccable, the long body conveyed authority, and every detail was designed to reflect success and sophistication. It wasn't an automobile for people who wanted everyone's attention. It was an automobile for people who no longer needed it. But this is where things become truly interesting, because the Fleetwood name carried special significance within Cadillac. It represented some of the most exclusive and refined models in the entire lineup. And that was clearly reflected in the interior. The materials were first class, the seats delivered extraordinary comfort, and the passenger space transformed every journey into a genuine luxury experience. Under the hood sat a smooth and powerful 331 cubic inch V8, producing around 250 horsepower. A very respectable figure for 1955. It's no coincidence that the Fleetwood helped cement Cadillac's reputation as the benchmark of American luxury, because it combined presence, quality, and refinement in a remarkable way. Today, the finest Cadillac Fleetwood 60 Specials typically range between $40,000 and $100,000, depending on condition and originality. And more than 70 years later, it remains one of the most elegant luxury sedans America produced during the 1950s. 1957 Lincoln Premier. During the 1950s, if Cadillac was the king of American luxury, Lincoln was its most elegant rival, and few automobiles represent that philosophy better than this one. Because while some manufacturers tried to impress through excess, Lincoln chose a different path: presence. At first glance, the Premier looked enormous, but it also looked refined. The long body lines, the elegant front grille, and the perfectly balanced proportions created an automobile that projected prestige from every angle. It looked like the car of a powerful executive, or a Hollywood celebrity. And that was exactly what many buyers wanted. The interior offered some of the finest craftsmanship available in an American automobile of the era. The seats were spacious and comfortable, the materials conveyed quality, and the well-insulated cabin helped create an exceptionally refined driving experience. Everything was designed for covering long distances in complete comfort, and Lincoln knew exactly how to deliver that. Under the hood sat a massive 368 cubic inch V8, producing around 300 horsepower, more than enough to move this large automobile with remarkable smoothness and authority. Today, the finest examples typically range between $50,000 and $140,000, depending on version and condition. 1956. Continental Mark II. Some luxury automobiles tried to impress. This one simply assumed it would. And that was precisely the philosophy behind the Continental. Because when Ford decided to create this car, it wasn't thinking about competing with Cadillac, or even Lincoln. It was thinking about building the finest American automobile money could buy, and the result was extraordinary. At first glance, the Mark II looked unlike anything else on American roads in the 1950s. It didn't have enormous tail fins, it wasn't covered in chrome, and it didn't need excess to attract attention. Its elegance was far more subtle. But this is where things become truly interesting. It was one of the most expensive automobiles sold in the United States during its time. And when you look at the details, it's easy to understand why. The interior was finished with exceptional materials, premium leather, handcrafted trim, and a level of attention to detail that few American manufacturers ever matched. Everything conveyed perfection. Production was also extremely limited. Ford reportedly lost money on nearly every unit built. But that was never the point. The point was to demonstrate what the American automotive industry was capable of. And the Mark II accomplished exactly that. Under the hood sat a refined 368 cubic inch V8, producing around 285 horsepower. A smooth, quiet power plant, perfectly suited to an automobile of this caliber. Today, the finest Continental Mark IIs easily exceed $100,000, while the most exceptional examples command significantly higher figures. And now, I want to know something. Of all the cars we've seen so far, which one best represents true American luxury? The technologically advanced Cadillac Eldorado Brougham, the imposing Imperial Crown, the refined Lincoln Premier, or this extraordinary Continental Mark II? Let me know in the comments. 1958 Buick Limited. When Buick introduced this automobile, many people thought it looked too elegant to be a Buick, and perhaps that was exactly what the brand intended. Because the Limited wasn't created to compete with ordinary cars, it was created to demonstrate just how far American luxury could go. And the result was spectacular. At first glance, it looked like a genuine work of art on wheels. The enormous body, the elaborate chrome detailing, and the impressive proportions made it stand out even among the most exclusive automobiles of the late 1950s. It was big, it was sophisticated, and it had a presence that was impossible to ignore. The interior was designed to deliver an absolute luxury experience. The seats were enormous and exceptionally comfortable. The materials conveyed quality in every detail, and the passenger space rivaled that of some limousines of the era. Everything was designed around comfort, and that turned every journey into a special occasion. But what truly made the Limited special was its balance, because it managed to combine luxury, presence, and elegance without losing the distinctive character that had always defined Buick. And that's exactly why it remains so admired today. The finest Buick Limited examples typically range between $80,000 and $200,000, depending on condition and originality. And more than 6 decades later, it remains one of the most elegant, exclusive, and spectacular luxury automobiles America produced during the 1950s. 1955 Chrysler 300. Some luxury automobiles were elegant, others were fast. Very few managed to be both at the same time. And that's exactly what turned the Chrysler 300 into a legend. Because while many luxury manufacturers focus solely on comfort, Chrysler decided to add something else: performance, and plenty of it. At first glance, it projected authority. The long body, the imposing front grille, and the elegant design lines created a presence that was impossible to overlook. It looked like an exclusive automobile, and it truly was. Because the Chrysler 300 wasn't just one of America's most elegant cars, it was also one of its most powerful. Under the hood sat a massive 354 cubic inch Hemi V8, producing around 300 horsepower, an extraordinary figure for the mid-1950s, and enough to make it one of the fastest luxury automobiles in the world. However, what makes the 300 so special on this list isn't just its performance. It's the way it combined two completely different worlds. On one hand, it offered a refined interior, comfortable seating, high-quality materials, and a driving experience worthy of a great luxury automobile. On the other hand, it hid a far more sporting character than most of its competitors. It was a car capable of making an impression in front of a luxury hotel, and also capable of surprising plenty of drivers when the traffic light turned green. Today, the finest Chrysler 300 examples easily exceed $100,000, while the rarest cars command significantly higher figures among collectors. 1959 Cadillac Eldorado Biarritz. If there is one automobile capable of representing everything America dreamed of becoming during the 1950s, it's this one. Because the Biarritz wasn't simply a luxury car, it was a statement of success. And perhaps that's why it became one of the most iconic automobiles in American history. At first glance, it looked almost impossible. The gigantic tail fins, the massive amount of chrome, and the spectacular proportions created a silhouette that remains unmistakable even today. There was nothing subtle about it, and Cadillac never intended there to be, because the goal was to stand out. And no automobile stood out more than this one. But this is where things become truly interesting, because behind all that extravagance was one of the most advanced luxury automobiles of its time. The interior featured premium materials, incredibly comfortable seating, and a level of equipment that few competitors could match. Everything was designed to make its owner feel special, and it succeeded perfectly. Under the hood sat a massive 390 cubic inch V8 producing around 345 horsepower. But beyond the power, what really mattered was the experience. Driving an Eldorado felt like being on top of the world, and very few automobiles could offer anything quite like it. The finest Cadillac Eldorado Biarritz examples easily exceed $200,000, while the most exclusive cars command significantly higher figures at international auctions. And when we look at all of these automobiles together, it becomes clear that the 1950s were a truly unforgettable era for American luxury, because manufacturers weren't afraid to dream big, creating symbols of one of the most elegant decades in the history of the American automobile. But now I want to hear your opinion. Of all the cars we've seen today, which do you think was the most elegant American luxury automobile of the 1950s? The futuristic Cadillac Eldorado Brougham, the refined Continental Mark II, the imposing Buick Limited, or the legendary Cadillac Eldorado Biarritz? Let me know in the comments. And if you enjoyed this journey through the most elegant American luxury automobiles of the 1950s, don't miss the video appearing on your screen right now, because there, we'll travel into the next decade to discover the most elegant American automobiles of the 1960s. And trust me, some of the most impressive cars ever to leave Detroit were still yet to come. See you in the next video.